video games had a little kind of sleeper hit that dropped.
Yep.
Sort of in '86. You might have heard of it. It's called Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, it's about those two Italian friends.
Now there is a caveat here.
racist.
This wasn't exactly 1986.
Right. Well, it may not have been. Right. So,
one knows.
it's interesting because reports and ideas about this go back and forth. No one actually has solid evidence whether or not Super Mario Brothers was available in some markets in North America in '85 or if it wasn't until '86. What we do know, of course, is that '86 is the year that it just storms the country. And that's when everyone
Baby Max played it.
has wide access to it.
I put the controller in my mouth because I was a baby.
I'm shocked that didn't get you some kind of
Now,
exotic
obviously,
disease.
we've talked about Super Mario endlessly. If you pull up the Wikipedia page for Super Mario, we are actually mentioned in like the first paragraph.
Yeah.
IGN called it the greatest game of all time. But what's the big deal? Like why is it so great?
We'd never seen a game with scope like this. Platformers up until then had always sort of been on game boards. Like Donkey Kong looked like it was on a board, like a single sort of screen, single surface, and just the breadth of the levels in Super Mario Brothers was something that the fact that you could go up and left.
Yeah.
And no, you couldn't go left. You go right.
Yeah, there's an actual sense of world and
Yeah,
exploration.
you can go to places that have like character to them. You can go under a lake. You
That
can
was
go
the
to a
thing
fire
for me.
castle.
Like every world was visually different. It just looked like the way it looked and the way the enemies, like the kinds of enemies that were there, and then the way you traversed it was always different. Like things were moving, or there were like smaller platforms than you were used to. It just felt like a different place.
Yeah, and there's a narrative in place too. Like it's pretty weird, but like the idea of like characters that are actually there's something to them, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
you have
like,
a motivation as to
Yeah.
find this woman who's in a castle.
and there's mushroom men, and you're killing just thousands of turtles.
Yeah.
Collecting gold.
Poor turtles.
Turtle side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about the amount of work that when you look at like what you consider a step up from for a sequel, right? From one to the next. I don't think there are many games that represent a larger step forward in terms of the amount of work that went into it. From Mario Brothers, which, like you said, is one of those games that exists literally on a series of singular screens, and a game like Super Mario Brothers, which is just a continually flowing, scrolling world. It's like it boggles the mind how much more work that is.
Yeah, and again, this is one of those like we take all of this for granted, but like the game's sense of inertia and momentum, and how jumping felt in the game, and how just like the verb of jumping became the verb that you just used in video games after that. I mean, every platformer after that was just that's what you do. You jump.
Nathan Drake jumps.
Yeah, it defined the language for every game that involves platforming of any kind. Even now.
Yeah, and it still holds up. Like this is still one of those games you can play anytime.
Totally.
You're still like, this is an
it's
incredible
been
game.
re-released a million times over because it does hold up. It's great.
I've bought that game probably a dozen times, happily. It's just what if it's on a
Are you
platform,
really
I'm
happy? Are you still happy when you buy? Every time I buy it, I buy it every
I'm
time.
getting more miserable every time. I'm still happy about it.
Now, beyond how good it is and how cool it was, it also really helped kind of revitalize the video game industry.
Yes.
Like, because that was in a bad place up until then.
It just crashed at that point, right?
Yeah.
In '82 was really when people credit the crash, and then '86 was like the return, the final, coming back. And Miyamoto, I mean, obviously his influence on that can't be understated, right? This is his first home console game. He done arcade games for Nintendo, but it was his first go at a home console game, and what a first try.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, and this just opened, again, the NES was out. We talked about it in the 85 episode. The NES was out in certain markets in 85, but the launch lineup was sort of middling. Like
very dodgy.
Excitebike isn't really doing it for me.
What?
But
man.
that's not
Fight up
Video game launch lineups.
Yeah, crazy.
Never been good.
How about that?
Shocking.